Okay, good afternoon, Sue. Hi. We're back with another college visitor today, and we have with us John Carrillo from St. Mary's University in San Antonio, Texas. Um, John, what is the weather like in San Antonio today?
I'm wearing a sweater today, but I don't need to be. Well, if I could point it outside, it's like 70 degrees right now.
Oh,
So all my St. Louis kids are wearing shorts and flip flops, and all my South Texas kids are wearing big big sweaters and jeans. It's kind of funny, but no, it's
classic.
a beautiful day today. I think the high is like 72. It's really
Oh my gosh, that's
nice. Yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
Wow. So, well, let's pretend that I'm a student who's just walked into the classroom where you normally would come at SLU during activity period
yeah, yeah.
and doesn't know very much about St. Mary's. They know that it's a Catholic school, and it's maybe a little bit on the smaller side. They may not even be aware of how far San Antonio is from St. Louis. What would you say to this young man?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you mentioned, we are a relatively small school. We have about Well, if you can include our law school and our grad school, we have about 4,000 students. So not tiny, but not incredibly large, obviously. We are a Catholic institution, as you mentioned, a Marianist university. So the best way I can usually tell the men for them to understand what that means is, well, we report to the same order that Chaminade Vianney and St. Mary's do. So that kind of gives you an idea of kind of who we kind of are like in terms of academic and faith tradition. So San Antonio is not close. It's not far though. The flight is a 2 hour flight. It's direct Southwest. It's about $250 to do my trip.
Perfect.
So not that bad. Driving a little bit longer, 16 hours. So that can be a little bit daunting for some families, but the flights are pretty reasonably priced, and they're very frequent. Actually, we I don't know what it is about the connection between the two cities, but there is a relatively deep connection between the two. And so there's probably like 3 to 4 direct flights on Southwest, which is pretty for a city like our size, San Antonio. That's actually kind of rare. So
That's so
um,
great.
yeah, but as a Catholic institution, we are the oldest Catholic school in Texas and actually in the American Southwest. We've been in San Antonio since 1852. So we have a pretty long tradition. And then as far as relationship to the city, like I kind of mentioned, we have a very robust alumni chapter there. We have approximately 500 active alumni in San Luis area. So at one point we were getting as many as 80 or 90 students a year from the St. Louis area, but basically between like the 1940s and like the 1990s. And it dropped off. Um, and a lot of them have done very well for themselves, and so they endowed a scholarship that we'll talk about a little bit that's specific to the San Luis area, as well as some other funding opportunities to get students to come visit down on their dime. So
Great. And so you mentioned there are 40 currently on campus from St. Louis.
yeah, yeah, I'm very proud of that. So I started recruiting in St. Louis in 2016, and we have three. So now we have 40 total. So the average class as it comes in is usually between 10 and 12. This year we
Mhm.
only had four because of COVID. A lot of people elected to stay closer to home, which is totally understandable.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have, I think the latest number I saw was actually 39. So I rounded up 39.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so, and
Very
my
good.
first class is going to graduate this year, which is kind of crazy to me, but yeah, so I'm excited
That
for
is,
them.
yes, that was fall of 16, right?
Yeah, fall of 16 is when I started. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
when, yeah, that's when Miss Floyd and I started at SLU. So
Yes, yes, it is. Yeah, and yeah,
we have that
yeah.
same class of college seniors now. So that is insane. It's like,
Yeah,
what in the world? Oh my
yeah.
God.
I think Miss Flood came down that next year when we had our fly-in
Oh,
counselors too. So,
ooh, that means I'm
yeah,
next.
yeah, indeed it is. You are next for sure.
I need to get there for sure. It sounds like the ideal size. I don't think it sounds too small because at that size, you're never going to know everybody, but you might always know somebody.
Yes, that is very accurate, and that's what I tell students is that it's just large enough to where like you're not gonna you're not gonna be not everyone's gonna know your business, right? But it's
Yeah.
also not gonna be big enough to where you can be totally anonymous either. And I will say, for better or for worse, for some of the guys, because I do recruit that special scholarship opportunity, and I only recruit the San Luis area. I do stay with the students through the 4 years, and I routinely check in with them. So, again, it's a depending on how you want to look at it. I think it's a good thing. You do have an extra resource in me. I'm an alumni. I've worked here for a number of years, so they usually like to tap my resource in terms of getting stuff done a little bit faster than some other students. So, but like I said, they also are not necessarily anonymous. They're going to be known on campus. So the St. Louis cohort is pretty well known across campus.
I actually like that. I like that. When you're talking about a school that's 4 times the size of your school, like
Oh
our
yeah,
kids have to think about that, right? We've got 1,000 in our whole school.
yeah.
So if they think 4,000 is small, they're mistaken.
No, no, yeah, no. It's definitely not small. It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And now comparative, if they're looking at a Mizzou or they're looking
Oh,
at something
sure.
like that or an UMSL,
Hmm.
obviously,
Hmm.
but it's big enough, like I said, for them to feel like it's something new and exciting, and you get to meet a
Yeah.
lot of people, but also small enough to where people are going to know if maybe you're struggling or if you need some extra assistance. It's very easy to get that type of
Yeah.
support. And even beyond that, what I tell a lot of the students, not just from SLU but from any of the Catholic schools, because I actually only recruit the Catholic schools in St. Louis. That's really, I'll get the occasional student from a public school, but that's not where I actually travel or actively recruit. It's
Mhm.
it's nice because for a lot of them, it's similar enough to, even if it's from a Jesuit tradition or a carnivore tradition or wherever, it's going to feel very similar in terms of the type of academic rigor they've been accustomed to, the type of family atmosphere they've been expecting from their high school career. But it's also going to be different enough because you're in San Antonio. Obviously, the demographics is different. It's a different part of the country, so it's enough like home that they feel comfortable and they're ready to hit the ground running. They're ready to go. And of course, this is the guys from SLU High are obviously very prepared, so I'm not worried about that either. But they're prepared for that aspect. But then it's also different and exciting enough because they're really hopefully stretching themselves in terms of interacting with a new group of people in a different part of the country. So
Being around a different culture, absolutely.
yeah, so
And I would think that with the Marianist tradition that you all are also very engaged with the whole integration between the school and the community.
yes, yes, absolutely.
Can you talk about some examples of that, maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. So traditionally, I'll give you just a brief example. We have something called a Marinus Leadership Program, and that is a leadership development cohort that is based rooted in Catholic teaching and philosophy, specifically, obviously, the Marinus tradition. So typically, we have about 15 students that participate in that. I always have at least 1 or 2 students from St. Louis that are selected for that. It is a scholarship opportunity, so I should mention that. It's a $3,500 on top of what their academic merit scholarship is, which is really nice. But that's a small example of what type of student that you would expect to see do service on our campus. So we have something called, oh my God, sorry, somebody's knocking on my door. I got a little.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
So we have an all-day school service project both at the beginning of the spring and the fall called Continuing the Heritage. And we typically have 800 to 900 students participate at each one of those events. And we do service projects at usually 20 to 25 different sites across the city. So they range from Catholic charities all the way to St. Vincent de Paul to different homeless shelters, all different types of things, right? The animal shelter is one of them too. But all of those sites are led by students from Marinus Leadership Program because there's about 15 a year, so it's about 70 students total. And they really represent the Marinus on campus, but they, more than that, it's very service oriented, just as the institution is. The best statistic I think I can give you is that the average student at St. Mary's, regardless of what they're involved in, has typically around 20 to 25 community service hours a year
Wow.
that they actually log with our um, community engagement office.
Hmm.
We were very proud. We've twice been awarded the President's Honor Roll for community service. So
Wow.
it's something that is really because of our Catholic tradition. That's just kind of an expectation when you come to St. Mary's that you're going to participate in service. It's just kind of
Yeah,
an
yeah.
expectation that you do, regardless of the faith tradition, but definitely informed and led by that.
Mhm. What part of the city is St. Mary's located in? Is it
Yeah,
easy to
absolutely.
get around and engage with?
Yeah, so we're urban.
Okay. Oh,
We are about 3.5 miles from downtown.
wow.
Um, so our area is not quite walkable, but that's Texas actually. Texas is very vehicle oriented. So that's not necessarily us. That's anywhere they look in Texas is going to be like that. Public transportation is okay. It's not bad or anything. Our side of town is a little bit older. The houses are from basically like the 1920s and 30s. So it's a little older, but it's totally safe.
Uh-huh.
Very, very low crime. Um, So we're happy about that. But there's a lot of stuff to do. We are in the seventh largest city in the United States. Most people don't know that about San Antonio.
No.
It's actually much bigger than most people know. So all the big city stuff that the guys would be accustomed to in St. Louis or SLU is going to be the same. We don't have gooey butter cake or we don't have toasted wraps, but we have a lot of other stuff too.
Oh,
So we don't have Ted Drews. I'm very sad that I didn't get my Ted Drews this fall.
Oh no! All you need to do is get to the airport now.
I know, yeah, I know, right? They have the little machine, but it's not the same. I
No.
like the strawberry shortcake. That's
Oh yeah, you can't get that in the machine.
Yeah, you can't get that in the machine. Exactly. You can get the concrete, but that's it. But in any case, there's a lot of. It is a foodie city, so they like to eat. There's a lot of really, a lot of family restaurants. It's actually more popular. I don't know why it is that way in this city. But here and in Austin, which is about an hour from us,
yeah,
the food scene is pretty awesome.
That's good. Oh, that's awesome to know. What are the most popular majors at St. Mary's?
Yeah, absolutely. So the number one major for us, for incoming students, is biology with a pre-med focus. Typically, about average class of 600, about 90 to 100 of them are going to be biology pre-med. Wow. So a very popular program. It is a very difficult program. So not every student that starts biology will end biology. But the ones that do are very successful, specifically in getting to med school. So if you look at our statistics, you can find them on the website. We average anywhere over the past 5 years from 65 to 80% acceptance rate in the medical school. The national average is closer to 30%. So it's something we're very, very proud of. It's a very academically rigorous program, but the students who go on to apply to medical school are pretty successful in that. And then dental school is actually like 100% for the past 5 years, but it's because there's only like 2 or 3 that do it every year, but they all get it. So that's it's a loaded statistic, but it is a statistic.
There you go. Yeah. It doesn't.
Actually, the same thing with veterinary school. We've only had like 3 in the past 5 years, but they've all gotten it. So we do have a large cohort that go into pre-pharmacy as well as physician assistants.
Okay.
So we have a good number that do that as well. We don't have we have a nursing agreement with a school in town where you can do a 4+1 and you basically get your bachelor's of science in biology and then nursing with them. It's not a very popular program, but it is a program that we have. Okay. The other most popular programs we have are political science. We do have a law school here on campus. It's very popular. We have a 3+3 program, so they're able to shave a year off, which is obviously from a cost and time perspective is pretty significant. And we do have a number of attorneys and doctors that are living in St. Louis. So the director of the Clayton Sleep Institute, Dr. Joe Gile, he's one of our alumni. So we do have, I should mention, we have, and this is really important for you guys, we have a pre-acceptance program with SLU with their medical school. We're part of that pre-med program. So Father Jim Tobin, who is the chaplain for the School of Business here, was the chaplain for the School of Medicine at SLU for 25 years. He's a emeritus priest. And so it's actually called the Father Jim Tobin Early Admittance Program. So we're pretty proud of that. And we also have an early admittance program with Baylor College of Medicine, which we're very excited about. That's brand new this fall. And that's only us and Rice. So we're pretty proud of that because that's some pretty distinguished, especially for a school of our size. So and then we have another one with UT Health Science Center here, and another one with Lake Erie College of Osteopathic Medicine. That one, LeadCom is what they call it. You actually apply to them first, and then us, and so you actually don't even have to take your MCAT or anything. You're already automatically admitted to medical school before you even start with us. So last year we had 4 of those, which we're super excited about. Wow. They already are admitted to medical school. They just got to do what they got to do here. So, but back to law school, we obviously have a large number of students that are looking at that. And then to round it off, we have a really large group of students that are interested in psychology. So those are our top kind of 3. Our engineering programs are very popular. Our business programs, our business school is relatively small, but finance and risk management in particular has exploded in the past few years. So those are kind of our most popular programs. And we have 75 different major programs, but those are most popular.
This is great. Oh, thank you so much. That's wonderful. So is the Marianist tradition, are SLU guys going to find that a lot different in terms of the faith life on campus?
No, I don't think they will. I think they're going to fit in like we love. We have a lot of students that come from other Jesuit schools that just seem to kind of fit right in. Very academic rigor is definitely something that we take very seriously. The education piece is a big cornerstone of the Marian tradition. One thing, not that it's not necessarily different, but it's a more of a focal point within I think the Marian tradition is really so. Let me back up. So the Marianists were founded in France after the French Revolution. Father Chaminade, who was the founder of the Marianist Society of Mary, was exiled to Spain. He had his vision of what would become the Society of Mary, early the Pillar. Moved back to France, and the order is a little bit more flat than they would probably be accustomed to within like the Jesuits. So the Marianist brothers, usually in a community, they'll have one or maybe two priests, but a priest doesn't necessarily outrank a brother. They have a priest just so someone can celebrate mass. So for a long time, the provincial United States, which is headquartered in St. Louis, I should mention, the Marian Society of Mary is headquartered in St. Louis, which is one of the reasons we have such a deep connection with the city. Was the provincial was actually a brother, not a priest, and so because of that, the institution is very flat as well in terms of the way students and faculty interact with one another, the way people just kind of interact. If you were to walk on campus, regardless of the faith tradition of the student, and you ask them to describe St. Mary's in one way, I could bet my life that they would say either family or community. Like those are the two things they're going to say. I bet my life on it. So I think in that regard, there's going to be a lot of probably kind of the brotherhood that they've come to love at SLU is going to feel very similar in terms of the way people kind of treat each other.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Well, you mentioned that you wanted to talk about a scholarship. There's some
Yes,
kind of
indeed. Yes,
special
indeed.
scholarship that we need to hear about.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mentioned the Society of Mary is headquartered in St. Louis, and for a long time we had a lot of students from all the Catholic schools coming up between the 1940s and like the 1980s, 1990s. And then we had a drop off of students who didn't come to St. Mary's, and so those alumni who moved back home all really wanted to see St. Mary's kind of get back into the game in St. Louis, and so they endowed a scholarship. We call it the St. Louis Scholars Award. And typically what we do is we'll, on top of whatever academic merit scholarship a student gets, which when they apply for admission, which is free, they're automatically considered for merit scholarship. And the merit scholarship runs anywhere between $12,000 and $26,000 annually. And then on top of that, they automatically, actually this is going to start this year. Typically there would be a scholarship application, but we've decided because of pandemic and a few other issues that we're going to automatically award it for any student from St. Louis. It's an additional $5,000 scholarship annually that would be stacked upon their merit award. So most of our students, we do have other scholarship opportunities with regards to the honors program, the Marianist leadership program.
The leadership,
so I have a student from Missouri who's a freshman this year. She got the top scholarship. She's a fantastic student. She had 4.0 on 13. She had a 31 ACT, great student. She had the $26,000 scholarship plus the $5,000 plus the MLP 3,500. So she didn't pay anything to come here. And typically, most of my students pay pennies on the dollar to come here because they tend to, again, I recruit mainly from the Catholic schools, so they tend to have pretty strong academics and good. They tend to be good applicants for other programs that we have on campus. So most of them come here at a very reduced cost. So it ends up being, from a cost perspective, a really great fit for a lot of them as well.
Wow.
So
wow.
it's
And that's all scholarship money.
Yeah, no, for sure. No. We're very blessed to have very giving alumni, not only from St. Louis, but most of our scholarship funding as a Catholic private institution comes from the generosity of our alumni. So we're just getting done with the largest capital campaign we've ever had in our history, and the benchmark was supposed to be 130 million, and we still have another year left, and we're already at 170. We're pretty proud. Yeah, we're very giving alumni, and they're continuing to give through the pandemic, which I think says a lot to the value that they've placed on their education at the institution. So.
Well, I think it says a lot to what you were talking about earlier. It's the family. You're giving back to the family, right?
Yeah, for sure. When I proudly, so I have, hold on.
What do you got?
I have this mask and I wear it around. And I don't know how many times I get stopped. Like, oh, you went to St. Mary's? Oh, you went to St. Mary's? And it's not even. I love it when I go to St. Louis too. Oh, you went to St. Mary's? Like, even if they didn't go, they'll know somebody who went, and it happens a lot. It happens a lot in St. Louis, actually. Like,
Wow.
oh, my uncle went to St. Mary's, or my grandfather went to St. Mary's, or so. I was like, okay, so,
Oh, that's
and and it's especially the ones who are alumni. They are there's an automatic type of not a connection or well no a connection or a bond and then just kind of like a friendly like oh like how can we help you and that's just something
oh,
that regardless of if you went here in the 50s or you went here 5 years ago or whatever time frame that seems to kind of walk with people when they leave here, which I think is you
that
can get a great education at a lot of institutions, right? But I think there's a handful of institutions that the students will probably be looking at that are going to hopefully help them to continue to build their character and who they are as people. Our president, he loves to say we of course we want our students to do well, right? We want them to be financially stable and successful, but for us, it's not enough for them to do well. We want them to do good too.
wow.
That's something that the president Mangler says that I very much latch on to because I think that's what is going to separate an institution like ours. And there's others that are like this that are going to be really focused on that and not just cranking out people that are going to be technically proficient, but hopefully well-rounded people when they leave the institution.
That is a really powerful message. I love that. And I think that's something that will really resonate with our guys as we post this up on our YouTube channel. I think it's something that really will differentiate St. Mary's from schools that are very similar. So thank you so much for your time today,
If
John.
I could do one thing, I do have a PowerPoint pulled up. I don't want to pull the show at all, but I do want if I can share my
Oh,
screen
let me share my
with
screen.
yeah
Sure.
with my information so that they
Yes.
can contact
I've
me.
made you a co-host, so
Okay,
hopefully you can do that.
cool. Yes, awesome.
Uh,
So you'll see
Good.
my picture when I have more hair. I gotta get a new headshot. I recently shaved it, but I
Great.
want to. That's my personal self.
Oh,
I only recruit St. Louis. I'm actually the director of outreach for the institution, but I do this kind of as a side. Actually, my favorite part of my job. But I only work with about typically 60 to 70 students a year, right? So it's just easier if they have my cell phone number. So please, if you're seeing this, just text me or give me a call. It's usually easier because I'm out and about a lot. And then those are also obviously all the social media platforms on. The one I'll highlight is that little orange Z for Zeme. I know some students are getting on that. We have purchased the kind of upgraded pro model, so we have very active student chats going on, so you can meet other students from other areas across the country that are considering St. Mary's as well as some of our current students who are on there. So those are kind of the two things I wanted to highlight, but more than anything, myself. I mean, you can email me too. That's fine. It comes on my phone. But if you have any questions, I really, really want to encourage them to give me a call or text just directly on my cell phone. It's easier for me to just be able to help them right from there.
oh, that's perfect. Thank you so much. And that Zeme would be a really good way for you to engage virtually with the college,
Yes,
where you're able to
absolutely.
see current students in action, because we can't really do that very much these days. Although you
Yeah,
mentioned that you're having one family at a time on campus doing
yeah.
really
We do have on-campus visitors 3 times a day, and we're going to be doing that through the fall. We do have virtual sessions. Ours are a little bit different because they're not the traditional admission session. That's more for a one-on-one call with me. We are having specific sessions with academic areas. So, for instance, tomorrow on Wednesday, we have a pre-health programs and career session. We have a number of alumni that are in medical school and some that have already been practicing for a while that are going to be like keynote, and then we're going to do breakout rooms where you can ask some questions. Our keynote speaker is actually a guy named Dr. Paul Sines, and he is the lead physician for the San Antonio Spurs. He's one of our
Oh my
alumni.
gosh.
So
Wow.
we're really excited about that. I've actually played golf with him. Really, really nice guy.
There's
Dr.
a
Sines is
connection
great.
to
So
have. Wow. I'd like to be able to
yeah,
call him family if I'm a pre-med student.
right, exactly. And actually, so he has it's the sports medicine group of San Antonio. All the physicians in his group are all St. Mary's alum, and they have interns who are looking at sports medicine. They're all from St. Mary's too, so they do take care of their own over there, which is really nice. But
Wow.
we're having sessions like that for most of our academic programs, as well as some other kind of tertiary stuff. We have a new esports team. They're doing an event. I think sometime in December. They'll get on Twitch so you can play against them and stuff. So we're trying to do something a little bit differently, not just kind of getting the boring, admission stuff. You're actually getting a sense of what St. Mary's is about and what you might come to expect as a student here.
Well, thank you so much again for your time. This has been fabulous. I really appreciate it and know that our parents and students will appreciate it as well, Jen. Thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Great to see you.
Have a great day.